Story 1. The only thing I can do is focus more on what I can control. Save more, spend less, make my belongings last longer, and hold on to my job for as long as possible. Others will be doing the same, and here comes the recession. I truly hope my old car lasts for a few more years. Story 2. I don't understand what you mean by responding without affecting your daily life. Everything is going to get a lot more expensive. Some things will simply become unavailable, similar to the pandemic experience. You're going to feel a lot of pain. What can you do? Cut spending on things you don't need because you'll need that money for things you do need. Also, work to ensure that the people responsible never get into power again in living memory. But without affecting your daily life? No. One of the main reasons we're in this difficult situation is that too many people believe politics is separate from their daily lives and doesn't really affect them or those they care about. Discard that notion. Understand that politics deeply affects you and your daily life. Get involved. Stop believing that things shouldn't affect your daily life. Story 3. Call your senators and representatives. Tell them to vote for an end to the tariffs. There are bills currently being considered that will remove the tariff powers from the current administration. There is no doubt this is affecting people's lives. Tariffs have been imposed on everything imported. The only items that might not have tariffs are local produce and meats. This is not being done to gain an advantage over our trade partners, despite what certain online commentators would have you believe. The intention is to undermine our economic power, damage our relationships with nearly every major nation, and diminish our global influence as our former allies turn to other trading partners, essentially telling us to go away. Story 4. I miss Sleepy Joe. He was sleepy and lost, but my account kept growing. I don't care about pronouns or immigration issues. They didn't make me poorer. We wronged you, Joe. Come back. I am tired of too much winning, and I even said thank you while wearing a suit. Story 5. If our economic system were attacked by a Muslim extremist, there would be special sessions of Congress and declarations of war. But when it is the work of an incompetent president, Congress just avoids taking action. Story 6. Without affecting our lives? We can't. I liquidated most of my stocks after the election, and now I'm sitting on my own little pile of cash in a high-yield account. I'm not buying anything other than the bare essentials. All my big purchases were made in the last few months before the obvious happened. Anyone with common sense saw this coming from a distance. Just stop spending money completely. Story 7. There's a part of me that thinks our corporate leaders will intervene or offer significant bribes to make him stop because they will face serious consequences from this. Story 8. The tariffs are extraordinarily high. I'm afraid that no matter what the middle class does, they will be affected. How can it not? Tariffs are a tax on us, the citizens. Story 9. I am 3.5 weeks away from having my first child with no paid maternity leave. I am definitely trying to exclusively breastfeed and primarily use cloth diapers. I strongly dislike Fox News. I am frustrated with everything happening. Story 10. I've compiled a summary for reference. Buy American-made alternatives. Example. Swap imported electronics for U.S. options like Apple or Dell to avoid tariff markups. Use price tracking tools. Applications like Honey or Capital One Shopping automatically find coupons and price drops for online purchases. Prioritize local goods. Buy groceries from farmers markets, which are cheaper than imported produce, and support U.S. manufacturers like Patagonia for clothing. Delay non-essential purchases. Wait for seasonal sales to offset inflated prices on items like furniture or appliances. Why this works? Reduces reliance on tariff-affected imports. Technology tools counterbalance short-term price hikes. Strengthens local supply chains over time. Bonus. Join community cooperatives for bulk discounts on daily essentials, like REI for outdoor gear. Story 11. Each act, each occasion, is worse than the last, but only a little worse. You wait for the next and the next. You wait for one great shocking occasion, thinking that others, when such a shock comes, will join with you in resisting somehow. You don't want to act or even talk alone. You don't want to go out of your way to make trouble. Why not? Well, you are not in the habit of doing it. It is not just fear of standing alone that restrains you. It is also genuine uncertainty. Uncertainty is a very important factor, and instead of decreasing as time goes on, it grows. Outside, in the streets, in the general community, everyone is happy. One hears no protest and sees none. You speak privately to your colleagues, some of whom certainly feel as you do. But what do they say? They say, "It's not so bad," or "You're seeing things," or "You're an alarmist." And you are an alarmist. You are saying that this must lead to this and you can't prove it. These are the beginnings, yes. But how do you know for sure when you don't know the end? And how do you know or even surmise the end? On the one hand, your enemies, the law, the regime, the party, intimidate you. On the other, your colleagues dismiss you as pessimistic or even neurotic. You are left with your close friends who naturally think as you do. But your friends are fewer now. Some have drifted off somewhere or submerged themselves in their work. You no longer see as many as you did at meetings or gatherings. In small gatherings of your oldest friends, you feel that you are talking to yourselves, that you are isolated from the reality of things. This weakens your confidence further and serves as a deterrent to what? It is clearer all the time that if you are going to do anything, you must create an occasion to do it, and then you are obviously a troublemaker. So you wait and you wait. But the one great shocking occasion, when tens or hundreds of thousands will join with you, never comes. That's the difficulty. If the last and worst act of the regime had come immediately after the first and smallest thousands, yes, millions would have been sufficiently shocked. But this is not how it happens. In between come all the hundreds of little steps, some of them imperceptible, each preparing you not to be shocked by the next. Step C is not so much worse than Step B, and if you did not make a stand at Step B, why should you at Step C? And so on to Step D. One day, too late, your principles, if you were ever aware of them, rush in upon you. The burden of self-deception has grown too heavy, and a minor incident, such as my little boy, hardly more than a baby, saying Jewish swine, collapses it all at once. You see that everything has changed completely under your nose. The world you live in, your nation, your people, is not the world you were born into at all. The forms are all there, untouched and reassuring. The houses, the shops, the jobs, the mealtimes, the visits, the concerts, the cinema, the holidays. But the spirit, which you never noticed because you made the lifelong mistake of identifying it with the forms, is changed. Now you live in a world of hate and fear, and the people who hate and fear do not even know it themselves. When everyone is transformed, no one is transformed. Now you live in a system that rules without responsibility even to God. The system itself could not have intended this in the beginning, but in order to sustain itself, it was compelled to go all the way. Suddenly it all comes down all at once. You see what you are, what you have done, or more accurately, what you haven't done, for that was all that was required of most of us. That we do nothing. You remember those early morning meetings of your department when, if one had stood, others might have stood, but no one stood. A small matter, a matter of hiring this person or that, and you hired this one rather than that. You remember everything now, and your heart breaks. Too late. You are compromised beyond repair. Story 12. Make your views known as calmly and firmly as possible to your state and congressional representatives. Remind them that you will remember how they faltered in the face of the former president's assault on the economy and democracy. Until their positions are at risk, they will never develop a backbone. Story 13. Daily life will be affected. At the very least, those outside of the top 0.1% will need to reduce discretionary spending. The best approach is to prepare for a worst-case scenario and increase savings before the costs of tariffs begin to rise. This means eating out less, reducing entertainment expenses, choosing generic products over name brands, and eliminating spending on non-essential items. Unfortunately, these measures can drive the economy into a downward spiral, leading to a situation where it quickly becomes every person or family for themselves. Story 14. You cannot change the situation. The state dictates the way of life, and they have chosen to isolate themselves and compete against every other economy on this planet. You must accept it. Alternatives may lead to issues with authorities. Story 15. I believe you would need to be deeply misguided and lacking empathy to be okay with the pain this is causing everyone. If you have not realized this is not helping anyone and will never do so, you have lost touch with reality. Story 16. According to state media, this will make us more masculine. I think we are good. Not only will we be more masculine, but we will also have owned those individuals. Story 17. The same way people got through the Great Depression. Use it up, wear it out, make it do or do without. Story 18. Write to your Congress representatives and urge them to take action, or they may not be re-elected next term. Another option is to emigrate and become an expatriate in a different country that may offer more protections. While there may still be challenges, they are likely less severe than those experienced locally. Story 19. Your life will be affected whether you respond or not. Everything is made in China. Story 20. I'm going out of my way to avoid products labeled Made in USA, and am looking for items that display the flag or name of another country. I have already started making this a habit, so it should not be too hard if things continue as they are. I bought extra shirts, socks, and underwear and am stocking up on toothpaste at the rate of roughly 1 tube every time I visit a store over the next few weeks. This should provide me with a supply for several months, but it is impossible to know everything in advance, and food items are perishable. Products labeled Product of Mexico or Hecho en Mexico are quite common, and Chinese products are usually marked, but almost nothing else is. Still, I am searching. Perhaps someone with expertise will create an application that can scan barcodes and identify the country or countries of origin for products. In the meantime, I wrote to the public contact information for both Canada and the European Union to request that their exporting companies include small national flags or European Union flags on product labels. Neither organization declined my request, but they also mentioned they cannot guarantee anything. Story 21. Divest your retirement savings from the stock market and invest in bonds. Eliminate all non-essential services such as cable and subscriptions. China will likely attack Taiwan, and the United States will face a shortage of semiconductor chips. Consider investing in American chipmakers such as Intel, AMD, Qualcomm, Micron, NVIDIA, Broadcom, Texas Instruments, Microchip Technology, Global Foundries, Maxim Integrated, Xilinx, NXP Semiconductors, onsemi, and Samsung Semiconductor. The restaurant industry will be significantly impacted, so consider this if you work in that sector. Pharmaceuticals are expected to rise sharply, so plan accordingly and look for opportunities with suppliers from Canada and Mexico. Story 22. The real effects of the tariffs will not be felt for many years. Most of the price increases we will see in the short term will be attributed to corporate greed rather than tariffs. There is already a significant amount of imported goods that will be price increased as an excuse for corporations to profit while blaming tariffs. This is similar to what happened after COVID-19. The real problems will arise years down the road, as other nations may no longer want to engage in trade deals with the United States, as demonstrated by former President Trump. He has shown that he will break even his own negotiated agreements, and vindictive leaders may cancel any deals made by their predecessors. Consequently, America may no longer be trusted to honor its agreements. This means non-US nations will build stronger trading partnerships and exclude the United States. It will result in fewer exports and more expensive imports, and we may lose some business that might never return. If we alienate the Canadians, it could take an entire generation before they choose to support American products again, especially if they have other options. Trump has damaged the reputation of the United States in a way that will last long after he is gone. Story 23. I am puzzled that you impose tariffs on one of our islands, which is only inhabited by penguins, and just buy from Australia where possible. I guess it's finally a reason to break the Coca-Cola habit. Story 24. Are you asking how to change the situation with no effort? That is not going to happen. Or are you asking how to change things while remaining neutral? Build your local community. Get to know your neighbors. Join a Buy Nothing group. Get involved with the local school, church, library, or Meals on Wheels. Story 25. Medication. The tariffs now apply to medications. How will insurance handle this? Will they pass the cost onto the insured? Or will I have trouble getting the medications that prevent me from a very painful death? Story 26. Save money and avoid unnecessary risks. Most of the adaptation will be intuitive. If these products are now double the cost, I need to find an alternative. Unfortunately, many small businesses that rely on foreign imports with no direct equivalent in the United States will close. Essentially, prepare for an economic downturn. Story 27. We are like non-Nazi Germans in the Third Reich. This tyrant imposed his will on us by force with the help of a passive Congress and Supreme Court. We are doomed as a nation. Story 28. Without affecting their daily lives, everybody is in a difficult situation. Your daily life depends on purchasing goods from overseas, and it will become significantly more expensive. Businesses will fail and people will lose their jobs. Story 29. If we do not start taking back the government, this entire country will collapse. I could see it becoming the end of the concept of a United States in which states split off to form their own countries, resulting in a significant loss of life. Story 30. You are misinformed. Apathy toward politics has cost and will continue to cost you more than you can imagine. How do I know that? If you had understood the consequences of apathy, you wouldn't be indifferent in the first place. Your only recourse is to overcome apathy, advocate passionately, and engage in political action. Story 31. I'm an ordinary person, and it hasn't affected me. If anything, eggs are cheaper, inflation is down, gas prices are down, and mortgage rates are down, which is nice because I'm trying to buy a house. I'm also happy that billionaires are the ones losing the most. So, I'm in a much better position than I was a year ago. Story 32. I guess I am getting my steaks from Australia and hot sauce from Mexico or China. They are the only explicitly American products I consume. The rest are either Chinese, Filipino, Japanese, or Korean brands since I live in the Philippines. Story 33. I see this as an opportunity. Is anyone buying stocks during this dip? So what are you buying? Story 34. Everything in the United States is going to increase in price. I cannot think of anything made or produced that doesn't involve something imported. If you are not wealthy, you are in a difficult situation. Story 35. I believe that a secret organization is attempting to create a mass stock sell-off, allowing them to purchase shares at a lower price. Subsequently, new policies will be introduced to reverse the current stock price trend, enabling them to double their profits. However, the companies acquired below their capital value will be stripped of physical assets and sold off in parts, leading to widespread unemployment. The hidden leaders can then establish new businesses, hiring the displaced workforce at lower wages, all while portraying themselves as heroes and further broadening the wealth gap. Story 36. Tariffs will affect everyone's daily life. We can help by looking out for those in need and staying present in the moment. Imagine what Bruce would do. Reach out to neighbors, especially those who are isolated. Support community gardens. Visit the library and check out a book. Attend local government meetings and consider running for office. Story 37. I believe the government is intentionally trying to undermine the economy to bring about a form of technological fascism, and it seems that no one is taking action to stop it. I wish suffering and hardship upon those who supported these decisions. Story 38. The time for ordinary people to take action is to not vote for Trump. There are no surprises with his administration. He is damaging our country exactly as he said he would, and his critics were correct that his actions would harm the nation. All we can do now is endure the situation or take illegal actions. Story 39. When I was in grade 10, I had a really strange week. I am not saying I could predict things, but I was able to be ready for events before they happened. Let me explain. We had a big charity food drive at our school every year. People brought in food donations for the food bank and also solicited cash donations. With the cash, we bought food in bulk and donated it every year. Each year, we tried to break the previous record for donations. For a small high school, we donated incredible amounts of food, around 80,000 items for a school with 350 students. It was a big deal, and the students worked hard each year to bring in hundreds, and in some cases, thousands of items. You received recognition for how much you donated or collected, starting from a basic acknowledgement for 100 items and going up to 10,000 items. Some kids showed up with literal truckloads of food in certain years. With the leftover cash, for students were chosen to go buy food with the donations. They called out one student, and that student selected the remaining 3. I thought to myself, I better pack my bag because I am going to be called. As I started to pack, the kid beside me asked what I was doing, and I said, they're going to choose me 4th. And they did, surprising him. We arrived at the store and estimated the amount of food we could buy, which was about 50 carts. We discussed the total versus our budget. They stopped loading carts, and I insisted that we could take more. We filled 3 additional carts, and at checkout I added a Kinder Egg. They were all concerned that we would be over budget, but I assured them we were fine. Ultimately, with around $7,000 worth of groceries, I was only 3 cents off from our actual budget versus the groceries we selected. Everyone was shocked, and we received praise for our efficiency. The next day at school, I noticed a kid running around, and I thought, that kid is going to turn around, run up the stairs, trip, and hurt himself. I mentioned it to a friend, and not even 30 seconds later, the kid did exactly that. He turned around, ran the distance to the stairs, caught the toe of his shoe, and smashed his face against the stairs. The following day, we were in the gym during lunch playing basketball. The kid was eating a popsicle, and I told him to take it out of his mouth because he would get hit with the ball. He didn't listen. Not a minute later, he got hit in the mouth with a basketball, and the popsicle stick went right through his cheek. On yet another day in French class, our teacher was upset because we were not behaving well, which was true. She moved the projector, and I cautioned, watch out for the power cord. You could trip on it. She reprimanded me to mind my own business. A few minutes later, she got caught in the cord while walking past it, and her hand slammed down through the projector, resulting in a broken forearm. Later the same day, while waiting for our rides after school, a friend said we needed a soccer ball. I joked, since it was a religious school, if you are truly in need, then the Lord shall provide, and raised my arm in the air. At that moment, a soccer ball blew off the roof of the school and landed directly at my feet. There might have been more occurrences, but this is the last one I remember. We were in history class, and the teacher was setting up a cart to show us a video. I told my friend we would not be doing anything that class, just sitting there as the teacher tried to get the video to work. That is exactly what happened. The first television didn't work. He got a new cart, but then the video cassette recorder didn't work. After leaving the room for about 20 minutes, he returned with another video cassette recorder, which wouldn't connect to the television. He left again and returned with a different cart that didn't have a remote, so he couldn't change the inputs. The entire class was spent watching him come and go with non-functional carts. Nothing like that had ever happened to me before or after. Story 40. It will probably affect me because I own a business that sells many products made overseas. But all I can do is keep going. My customers are all keenly aware, so how much it impacts my bottom line remains to be seen. Personally, we don't buy a lot and hold tight on our investments to ride out the economic peaks and valleys. Over the past 40 years of investing, it has been a consistently successful strategy that has seen us through all the political and economic changes. I'm not worried. Very curious, yes, but not worried. For the small, non-professional investor, not doing anything is the best course of action. Ride it out. It is the historically correct thing to do. Story 41. Flood Congress with calls. It is easy to contact them through 5calls.org. If that does not work, organize a sit-in with a loudspeaker to follow them wherever they go. Story 42. It does not affect my daily life. Prices rise and fall, gas prices fluctuate, stock prices vary, and I continue to purchase more. Story 43. Don't worry. I know we are going to win so much. They are going to say, Mr. President, when will we stop winning? Story 44. Business as usual. Literally, nothing has changed for me, except my 401k decreasing in value. However, I continue to invest at a discount, so nothing has changed. Story 45. The market determines the price. Companies already charge the maximum price that the market allows. If you cannot raise the price, you cover the difference with company profits. Tariffs are a tax on corporations that send jobs overseas. This tax can be avoided by building factories locally, which creates jobs. Every country imposes tariffs on the United States, and somehow it does not negatively affect them. Study basic economics to learn more. Ignore online fearmongering. Story 46. I think most people struggle to understand macroeconomics. It is ironic that those who mismanage their money and now want others to pay for their student loans consider themselves economic experts. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.